What was Tenerife Airport accident? KLM 4805 and Pan AM 1736 collision? What is crew resource management? On March 27, 1977, two Boeing 747 passenger jets, operating KLM Flight 4805 and Pan AM Flight 1736, collided on the runway at Los Rodeos Airport, now Tenerife North Airport, on the Spanish island of Tenerife, resulting in 583 fatalities. This accident is the deadliest in aviation history. The disaster had a lasting influence on the industry, highlighting in particular the vital importance of using standardized phraseology in radio communications. Cockpit procedures were also reviewed, contributing to the establishment of crew resource management as a fundamental part of airline pilots' training. A terrorist incident at Gran Canaria Airport had caused many flights to be diverted to Los Rodeos, including the two aircraft involved in the accident. The airport quickly became congested with parked airplanes blocking the only taxiway and forcing departing aircraft to taxi on the runway instead. Patches of thick fog were drifting across the airfield, hence visibility was greatly reduced for pilots and the control tower. The collision occurred when the KLM airliner initiated its takeoff run, while the Pan Am airliner, shrouded in fog, was still on the runway and about to turn off onto the taxiway. The impact and resulting fire killed everyone on board KLM 4805 and most of the occupants of Pan Am 1736, with only 61 survivors in the front section of the aircraft. The subsequent investigation by Spanish authorities concluded that the primary cause of the accident was the KLM captain's decision to take off in the mistaken belief that a takeoff clearance from air traffic control had been issued. Dutch investigators placed a greater emphasis on a mutual misunderstanding in radio communications between the KLM crew and ATC, but ultimately KLM admitted that their crew was responsible for the accident and the airline agreed to financially compensate the relatives of all of the victims. What is crew resource management? Crew resource management or cockpit resource management is a set of training procedures for use in environments where human error can have devastating effects. Used primarily for improving aviation safety, CRM focuses on interpersonal communication, leadership, and decision-making in the cockpit of an airliner. Its pioneer is David Beatty, a former Royal Air Force pilot and later a BOAC pilot who wrote his seminal book The Human Factor in Aircraft Accidents, first published in 1969. Despite the considerable development of electronic aids since then, many principles he developed continue to prove effective today. Crew resource management in the U.S. formally began with a National Transportation Safety Board recommendation made during their investigation of the 1978 United Airlines Flight 173 crash. The issues surrounding that crash included a DC-8 crew running out of fuel over Portland, Oregon, while troubleshooting a landing gear problem. The term cockpit resource management was coined in 1979 by NASA psychologist John Lauber, who had studied communication processes in cockpits for several years. While retaining a command hierarchy, the concept was intended to foster a less authoritarian cockpit culture, where co-pilots were encouraged to question captains if they observed them making mistakes. Crew resource management grew out of the 1977 Tenerife Airport disaster, where two Boeing 747 aircraft collided on the runway, killing 583 people. A few weeks later, NASA held a workshop on the topic, endorsing this innovative training. In the U.S., United Airlines was the first airline to launch a comprehensive CRM program, starting in 1981. By the 1990s, it had become a global standard. United Airlines additionally trained their flight attendants to use CRM in conjunction with the pilots to provide another layer of enhanced communication and teamwork. Studies have shown that by both work groups using CRM together, communication barriers are reduced and problems can be solved more efficiently, leading to increased safety. CRM training concepts have been modified for application to a wide range of activities where people must make dangerous time-critical decisions. These arenas include air traffic control, ship handling, firefighting, and medical operating rooms. Hashtags Tenerife Airport collision, crew resource management, KLM, Pan Am. What was Tenerife Airport accident? KLM 4805 and Pan Am 1736 collision? What is crew resource management?